So when you're shooting in photography, there's this thing called the trifecta of lenses. And this is essentially a set of 3 lenses that cover a huge range of focal lengths. And the idea behind it is that this range is going to cover 95% of the situations that you're going to be shooting. So first you have your 14 to 24, your wide angle. Then you have your 24 to 70, your all-rounder. And then lastly, the last piece of that trifecta is the 70 to 200. And this is Nikon's latest lens. And today I'm going to tell you about it. Now there's a lot to go through for this lens, like it's a big hefty lens and there's a lot to it, but I want to go through my 3 favorite features of it. Now the first thing I want to look at is how sharp it is. Now I know that most digital cameras and lenses are pretty consistently sharp, but the thing is that when you have a lens that goes over such a wide range from 70 to 200, it becomes really hard to maintain consistent sharpness across that range. So what we're going to do is take photos of the same subject in increments from 70 to 200. But we're going to keep the framing and the subject as similar as possible across these photos. And to do this, as we move through the focal ranges, I'll move further and further back from the subject. And that way we're accurately comparing the quality across different focal lengths. So let's try that out. Now, it might not seem like the most interesting thing to shoot on an entire soccer field, but to do these samples, we're going to shoot the seating area. I was going to shoot the actual soccer goals, but the net of that kind of blends in with the background, so it's a bit harder to distinguish the details in that. We're going to start at 70mm. And what I'm going to do is focus on the chairs, but then frame the rest of the stand exactly the same between all the shots. All right, we're moving to 105mm. So 135mm. And then lastly, straight to 200mm. And if we look at the photos, we can see that there's minimal loss in quality between the focal lengths, even if we zoom in heaps. So that's pretty good. The next thing I want to talk about is a very specific part of the build, which I didn't think is a big deal, but I find it actually quite useful, which is the fact that this lens has so many function buttons built in around the lens. Now these sets of buttons are all the way around the lens, but they're actually really just 2 buttons. You have one function button and a second function button. And these you can allocate them to do whatever you want. Whether it's locking onto a subject or changing from manual focus to autofocus, changing focus mode, all of that you can do with one of these function buttons. And what I really like about it is you can access it all around the lens. So even if you're shooting landscape or portrait, you always have access to those buttons. Now I know that a lot of lenses have it, and I also know that a lot of people don't really use them that much, but when you have a lens that's this big, you're going to be holding it where those buttons are anyway, so it's kind of an easy thing to get used to. Now the next thing I love about this lens is the internal mechanism of this. Unlike some other lenses where changing the zoom physically changes the length, this one is all mechanical and all done internally. And this means that handling and balance is a lot better with this. These are my favorite parts of this lens, but comparing this to the previous Nikon 70 to 200, there's a lot of big differences outside of this. It's 27% lighter than the previous one, which makes a difference at this length. It has 3.5 times faster autofocus, and tracking performance during zooming has improved by 40%, which is amazing considering the use case of a lens like this is in sport, where autofocus is so important. Everything about this lens has been massively improved from the previous generation, and I can't recommend it enough. So if you're looking for the final piece in your trifecta of lenses, head on over to camerahouse.com.